Toby! What? We need your help to track an assassin. What? Right, let's go. Never mind, Toby. We had a nice walk, didn't we? Ladies and gentlemen, Nick here, and welcome to my review of Sherlock Series 4, Episode 1, The Six Thatchers, title based on the adventure of the Six Napoleons, but replaced with Margaret Thatcher busts, so the adventure of the Six Thatchers. Yeah, before we start, we should probably mention the fact that this has gotten quite a bit of controversy, because it's not really typical Sherlock, as in the Sherlock mystery-solving detective using skills that Series 1 and 2 saw. And whilst people liked it, they didn't think it was proper Sherlock. Thankfully, the next episode, The Lying Detective, would go back to being a bit more like that, and then episode 3 was kind of in between. But with its own merits, how does The Six Thatchers hold up? Well, it's a pretty good story. Sherlock and Watson are investigating a mystery about a guy who apparently died in his car when he was supposed to be halfway around the world. It turns out he wasn't actually halfway around the world. It was going to be a surprise, but he didn't get to accomplish the surprise and actually died, and then was discovered about a week later when his car was damaged by someone driving another car and crashing into it. During this, Sherlock notices that a Margaret Thatcher bust was missing. Well, he noticed something was missing, and so he soon goes into a mystery of what's happening to Margaret Thatcher busts, why they're getting destroyed or stolen. And it turns out that a assassin was destroying the busts to find a memory stick of all his information that he hid inside one to avoid that falling into the wrong hands when he was captured. And apparently he is one of 4 assassins, and another one was Mary, and then the other 2 were dead. The other 2 had died on a mission. He was captured and Mary had escaped, and he thought Mary had betrayed them. It turns out it's a government official working with Lady Fawn. Was that her name? I can't remember. Lindsay Duncan's character from Series 3. Series 3 finale. And for some reason, Mary has to go on a globe-trotting walk to make sure John and Rosie, their daughter, would not get harmed by the assassin, but Sherlock eventually tracks her to Africa. They kill the assassin there, well, someone does, and they then try to solve the mystery. But it's not exactly the typical type of mystery from Series 1 or 2. I don't even know if it's the same style as Sign of Freeze. It's more of a Empty Hearst type of mystery. It's not that interesting, but it's better than nothing. His Last Vow and Abominable Bride may also fall into that category. Well, let's address one of the elephants in the room. This first one is, well, at the end of The Abominable Bride, Sherlock reveals that Moriarty is dead and that he knew what he was going to do next. But when this one starts, first of all, they make Sherlock killing Milverton in His Last Vow look more like Milverton accidentally pulling the trigger and killing himself by accident, so Sherlock wouldn't be blamed. And then they completely ignored Moriarty's return, Abominable Bride mystery solving style. But worse, because some of the other characters were actually nagging Sherlock to help him solve the case with Moriarty, and that bit was also kind of a dream. As was the Victorian Age one. And now no one seems to be worried about Moriarty all of a sudden. In fact, no one gets a bit worried about him until the final episode, and even then, it's not that worried. The other elephant in the room is the fact that it's not really a Sherlock episode, and it's been mostly Mary episode 1, as Troby, Mr. TARDIS Reviews, puts it in one of his, I think it was in his live stream he did last week. I get a question answered. And for a good few minutes, we do see Mary on a globetrotting mission, as I said, to avoid the assassin harming her family. And it's less of a Sherlock episode, more of a spy espionage film. Something you might see in a Bourne film, or even a Bond film. And I don't know if it works with Sherlock. It's a bit like Thunderbirds doing it. When they did the 2004 movie, it was criticised quite a bit, and one of the reasons was it was a bit more of a spy espionage film as opposed to a sci-fi adventure or rescuing people for the majority of the runtime. And I see where those people are coming from. I don't really mind it in the Thunderbirds movie because that movie is awesome. Dare I say. But this one, it does feel a little out of place, and unlike Thunderbirds, it is a bit more noticeable. And I don't know, it's just a few minutes, but it does take you out a little. It's like you think you're watching something completely different. Let's say The Lion King, based on Hamlet, took a story from a musical. Even though Lion King is a musical, the story is based on Hamlet. So about halfway through, let's say Lion King took the story from Wicked, and then just ran with that for about 5 minutes or so, and then tried doing something else, or tried to return to the Hamlet stories. It doesn't exactly work. Yeah. And I think that's the only two elephants in the room. I think really most of it isn't exactly mystery solving, it's just doing stuff. Oh, and Sherlock constantly texts. Something going on. I'm sure that should have been something of a plot point, at least character-wise. But no, he's just constantly texting. John Watson and his wife Mary have a baby who is called Rosie, and well, we kind of have her birth nearer to the start, along with Sherlock's constant texting, and then she's just around somewhere for a bit. She doesn't really play that much of an important role in this series, apart from being born. I hope she's going to have a bit more of importance in Series 5, if they're going to make another one. Or later on when she grows up. But until then, there isn't really much you can do with... There isn't really much that happens with her, apart from her mother dying and hanging out with Molly Molly Hooper for quite a bit of the series. Also a pointer to point out in this episode, Watson is, well, he sees a woman on a bus who puts a flower in his ear and they start texting, kind of a relationship beginning style, even though he knows it's wrong. Of course, this is all part of a grand scheme by this particular woman, as viewers of episodes 2 and 3 will know. Also, a nice little Easter egg for episode 2 as at the bus stop. I missed it the first time, but I then saw it on Twitter that there was a picture of the villain from the next episode, so a nice little Easter egg for that one. Pretty much everyone is as great as usual. Benedict Cumberbatch, Barton Freeman, all brilliant as usual. We've also got a couple of newcomers who are also pretty great, like the one who plays the assassin and the woman who plays the traitor, the one who sold them out. So she caused jealousy of her office clients, and spoiler alert, she ends up killing Mary. Which, yeah, Mary does die at some point during the Arthur Conan Doyle stories. Not sure exactly when, but some point. Maybe before Final Problem, the short story. I'm not sure. Maybe it's between then and Empty House. But with this series, she was only introduced last series. She's only been in about 5 episodes. From Empty House to this one. And this is not including her reappearances in the other 2 of this series as a vision from John and her video messages in pretty much all 3 episodes. So she was pretty much killed off quite quickly, but it does make a little sense after you watch the rest of the series. But on the first episode, it's a bit of a questionable decision. And she has left video messages for John and Sherlock, as we'll see at the end of this episode and in the next 2. And that's pretty much it. Moriarty sort of makes an appearance, but he's not really relevant to the plot. They pretty much ignore his return for quite a bit. In fact, and apart from the Miss Me letters that Mary writes on his on her discs and letters that she sends to Sherlock and John, apart from that, which gets their attention, there really isn't much Moriarty mentioning or referencing or even worrying about for pretty much until the final episode. And even then, they don't even have to worry much about him, because he's already done his stuff. Spoiler alert, he is officially dead, confirmed by the final episode. But they just don't worry about it. They don't even really want to check out what's going on, or how, or why. No, we will find out a bit more, or pretty much all of this information in the last one, but until then, it was quite questionable and a bit jarring. So, the Six Thatchers. There was some pretty good stuff. I liked I was going to say loved, but I don't think I love it. I like the Sherlock and Toby scenes, even though they weren't that necessary. And it was quite interesting seeing him try to solve the mystery at the start of the episode. Not start, earlier on, with the boy from supposed to be on the other side of the world, but wasn't. And then going on to the Margaret Thatcher bust mystery, and as soon as the microstick was revealed, then that's where the episode took a detour. Also, I think the church from The Abominable Bride makes an appearance shortly afterwards. Shortly after that scene. So, Six Thatchers, as an actual Sherlock episode, connected to the series, it is pretty... It's more of a filler, to be honest. It's a filler between the New Year's special from 2016 and the finale of this series, but it's not. But unlike episode 2, it's not trying to be a bit more of a conventional episode. And as an individual episode, it doesn't work as well as, I don't know, some of the others, because it's kind of not being Sherlock at some points. It's being, well, as Troby described it, Mary, episode 1, as once they get into that part of the story. Yeah, it just doesn't feel like a conventional episode. It's not unenjoyable, it's not unwatchable. It totally is, and I would prefer this over last series' season opener, The Empty Hearse. Whether it's better than The Blind Banker, which was a bit more of a cliche storyline, but that was typical Sherlock, even though the rest of it was pretty much cliche. Detective, police, crime show. Actually, Blind Banker was pretty good. No, this one's not as good as that, or Scandal in Belgravia, which was my least favourite of Series 2. I think that one was also a typical Sherlock episode, but was also a bit like the Series 3 and 4 episodes. But at the same time, Series 1 and 2 had this kind of a formula which they could probably get away with this type of story arc while sticking to the Sherlock formula. The rest of the series was staying to, and they wouldn't have to worry about it. Well, Series 3 and 4, when they tried it, they weren't exactly sticking to the formula for a particular runtime of the episode they tried to do it in. Or episodes. So, Six Thatchers, I'm sorry to say, I think this might have to be my second least favourite of the series. Of the show, I mean. After Empty Hearse, because that one wasn't as interesting. And this is also including Many Happy Returns. I haven't seen the unaired pilot, not yet, but I'll hopefully at one point. But out of the 13 and a half, 14 episodes, this including Many Happy Returns, this is the second weakest. But none of them are bad. None of them are badly made or performed or anything. It's just a level story-wise. You can have not so great to really, really awesome. And brilliant and well thought out. But for this one, I'm just going to have to say it's not that great. It's good, but it's not great. If you're into Sherlock, or if you want to start with Sherlock, I really suggest you start with Series 1. Which is a bit obvious, to be honest. But yeah, most fans of this series, of the show, would probably not enjoy this one, and I can see why. So, the Six Thatchers. I'm going to have to give it a 7 out of 10. Like I said, it's not bad, it's just not that much Sherlock. It's kind of something else a bit different altogether when it does go into the spy espionage story for a bit. I don't know, I don't think it works completely. It does work in some places, like the first act does pretty much work, more or less, but no, this one isn't a completely satisfying story, at least not for the fans, and I really love Sherlock, as you can tell. So that's it for this episode. Next time will be a much, much better episode of this series. I shall not reveal my ranking of each episode just yet until the ranking list, which will be after all 3 episode reviews, although I might accidentally slip it at some point, just to let you know if that does happen. As for now, I will save the series ranking list for the ranking itself, though you could probably tell where this one comes in with my revealment of where it is on the overall series list. all of the series and episodes. But we'll have to be a bit more precise when we get to the actual list. So, yeah. Thank you for watching. Next time, The Lying Detective, Series 4, Episode 2 of Sherlock. And just to let you know, I'm hoping to go to the cinema on Tuesday to see the film La La Land. It's a romantic musical. I don't think it's my cup of tea, but then again, The Conjuring 2 was a horror, and horror's not exactly my cup of tea, and that pretty much surprised me in how brilliant that was. So, and La La Land's getting pretty great reviews, and that's probably the only reason why I want to see it. Well, decided to see it because it was getting so praised reviews. I thought, whatever, I'll see what it's like, see why it's so praised. So you never know, it could be another surpriser for me. It could pretty much beat Moana's 2017's best film on next year's film ranking list. This year's film ranking list next year. But we'll see. It might actually turn out to be not my cup of tea at all. And I don't even drink tea, so why am I using that phrase? Cup of water. There we go. It might turn out not to be my cup of water. Also, we might at some point try and see the film Sing. So we'll see about that and those two reviews. I don't know what the order is. I think La La Land's review will be after Sherlock, The Lying Detective. Sing could be either after that or after The Final Problem, which will go in between, and then there's the ranking list. That's if we see them at all. We'll have to see. As for now, the next review will be The Lying Detective. So, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Excuse me. Stop it. But when it's his last vow, you pretty knew. Sorry. Same with The Abominable Bride. Except that one was a bit more of a mystery to start off with. And his last vow was, well, you pretty much knew what was going on for most of that. It's just revealed itself a bit more. So, yeah. Well, let's get one of the elephants out of the room. But worse, because they were actually, some of the others were actually getting on. Something you might see in Jason Bourne, something you might see in a Bourne film or even a Bond film. Something you might see in a... Sorry. It's like if The Lion King is being based on Hamlet, and then all of a sudden it started being, I don't know, another famous play, a musical. Well, it is a musical, but if it was taking a story from one of the musicals, say West Side Story, which is, no, that's Romeo and Juliet. So let's say it took the story, so let's say halfway through that story, it then suddenly took a story from another musical. Let's try and think of one. So let's say it took a story from, well, Watson and it was quite interesting trying to solve the murder and then going on to the 6 busts. It might not 20 minutes. I can do 20 minutes. Well, 23 to be honest, but 23 minutes to be precise. I can sit through 24 minutes of me blabbering. Time it's 3:30. That's fine. Yeah, my Sherlock review might even be up tonight. Dun dun. Is it still on? Oh, Briley.